Hello, this is Lisa LeRose here on Connect to Love on PRNFM, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, my most amazing friend, Michael J. Russ. I can only say that how excited I am about today's show because he exudes the topic of what we were going to tune into today, which is enthusiasm. Everything that Michael does is done with a passion and enthusiasm. And last week we were speaking about awakening the imagination. And really when you have all of these creative ideas, it's really about bringing things to life. And there was a quote, so often I go back to my good friends, my books, and it was about a Zen master who enters a village and sees people scurrying about, and they say to him, "Where are you running?" He asks. "To make a living," they respond. "Why are you so sure that your living is not in front of you?" he probes. "Maybe it's behind you and can't catch up. Do not run to make a living. Be still and live." I thought, wow. What a great quote. So I'm going to kick that off and welcome you, Michael. I know you.
Thank you.
There's a lot for us to delve into. And, I'd love to hear your thoughts and how you're doing today.
The forward, backwards, left, right, up and down. Enthusiasm is huge for conveying any message. It's interesting because we've talked about a lot of different things. Enthusiasm is a frequency that you resonate, and a positive frequency that you resonate. And I don't think I've ever referred to it that way before, even in my own podcast. However, it's an energy, it's a vibration that you send that other people can pick up on, whether it's over the phone, especially digitally. When you're talking to somebody on a cell phone or a landline or whatever, they can pick up your level of enthusiasm. I know this for a fact because I've been using it for 30 years in my business. And if you're looking to convey a message to anyone, be it a complete stranger or someone that you have been intimate with for even decades or even a few minutes, you must convey your message with enthusiasm. And I tell people when I do sales training that unless you have a high level of enthusiasm about whatever it is you're looking to convey to someone, you might as well not even bother to go to the appointment or pick up the phone to give them a call. You must literally be enthusiastic about it. And that's an honest and sincere enthusiasm, not something that you co-opt and try to convey in a way that's not sincere, an insincere way. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's just the way it goes. People, I think about Thomas Edison, who took 10,000 tries to make a light, to invent a light bulb, and as the story goes, and imagine the level of enthusiasm that he had to keep maintaining in order to continue to drive he and his team forward, because it wasn't just him. He had a whole team of people that were working on dozens and dozens of inventions at the same time. And as somebody who's at the top, think about that. Now, take it down to the family level. You have a family. You have a significant other, and perhaps you have kids, maybe you don't. Your level of enthusiasm on a daily basis has an impact on the relationship. And you might not realize it initially. However, when you wake up with a level of enthusiasm, and enthusiasm being infectious, it can start you and your partner's day off, and you and your family's day off on an amazing foot. And I remember this every single day because my girlfriend is empathic. Doesn't really embrace it, but she's empathic. And if I don't hold a level of enthusiasm, the first thing she asks is, "What's going on? What's wrong? What are you thinking about?" And that always reminds me, I just may be thinking about something very intensely, very deeply that I need to either take care of that day or that I haven't written down yet, and I want to keep it in the forefront of my mind so I can get it accomplished. or I have a task that it requires some level of focus. And I'll be thinking about it and not necessarily conveying my enthusiasm about life or anything else, because she knows I am very enthusiastic, overly so in many cases, because I have had enough experiential wisdom to understand through and in my lifetime to understand that enthusiasm is one of those elements that you have to work at. You have to set the intention to be enthusiastic and surround yourself by things in life that help feed that enthusiasm, which I'm always conveying to people, that you have to communicate with those people in your life, your family, your friends, and others about in a positive way, not communicating drama, communicating problems and other things of that nature, but you have to have a nucleus of friends that you can communicate your own enthusiasm for life, and they can embrace it and communicate that their enthusiasm for life back to you. So often it's easy to become mired in drama, mired in negativity, mired in something that's going on in that moment that won't matter in a day or two or three. And you lose your enthusiasm when you focus on lower frequencies. You focus on negativity, which literally just snuffs out all the enthusiasm that you have. And if you're on a project or you're looking to get a job or whatever you're looking to do in life, another thing is a job. If you go to an interview, and a lot of people now are going to interviews. I got friends. I tell them one thing. If you are not enthusiastic about whatever it is that you're going to apply for, don't bother. It's a waste of your time, and it's a waste of theirs. It's the most sage advice I give anyone who's coming out of college or anyone who's looking for another job. Find something that you're enthusiastic about, that you can be enthusiastic about. Otherwise, and your enthusiasm, regardless of your qualifications, if you get the opportunity to speak to someone in person, which is a challenge nowadays in the communications era, digital era, it's important to bring that enthusiasm with you and convey it in your body language, in your tone of voice, and your attention to and focus. And it's the same thing. It doesn't matter if you're going to meet someone for the first time, or if you meet someone, just a stranger, in a bar, a restaurant, or at a festival, or whatever it is. Your enthusiasm for life can be infectious to them, and they will say it. Wow, what are you so excited about? You go, really? Do I seem excited? Yeah, because I'm excited about life. I'm excited about where I am, and it's a function of your focus. So I am very knee-deep into being consciously aware of the level of enthusiasm that I have in any given moment. And, yeah, there are times when I'm so focused on something, enthusiasm isn't necessarily there. I'm just working on things. I'm thinking maybe perhaps, or I'm writing something. However, when it comes to resonating that level of enthusiasm that you know you're capable of, it's something that you control, period. You control it. And all the everything that surrounds it, you control. And that's the beauty of, in my view, enthusiasm, is that it is another one of those controllable frequencies that we have to set the intention to deliver. So how about you? What do you wake up enthusiastic about?
You know what?
Other than your wonderful dogs.
You know what, Michael? It was that when I was sort of pondering different things today throughout my day, because I'm thrown a lot of different directions. There's a lot that goes on in my day, and when I wake up in the morning, there is always a gift in whatever comes my way, and many times it's in so many unexpected ways. And so when you were speaking about family, when I was a child, I had a mother that was the queen of enthusiasm. She literally, I think her sense and zest and zeal for life was unmatched. I mean, sometimes I felt like I was like, wow, that's my mom. And I've never met your mother, but I have a sense that she was the same way. that in everything that she did there was a sense of wonder and joy and exuberance. And it's not to say she didn't have different things, but if you would ever see her around a child, and as a little child would bring her something, she would generally be so inspired and in awe of what somebody would create. And, going to the zoo with her or to the botanical gardens, she was just always so filled with enthusiasm. And I sort of try to bring that, no matter what it is. And my brother, I think he kind of looks at me sometimes and is like, oh, you're you're just like Mom and Poppy, Poppy was my grandfather, which was my mother's father. And he was the same way. I'll never forget the one time, he came to pick me up at the airport, and my brother was there, and he went to his car, and he put on this wig that he got at the thrift store, and he had these false teeth and these crazy glasses and some kind of jacket, and he was creating this whole persona. I mean, it just to be silly. I mean, a 70, 80-year-old man, I can't even remember how old he was when he was doing that, but just to sort of bring a smile to people's face, to kind of catch people off guard, it was just, I think my brother still has a picture of it. It's quite funny, but I think that, it's in the simple things that we can find to be enthusiastic. It doesn't have to be a monumental. I mean, obviously, if you're going to play a sporting event or watch a sporting event, when you have an enthusiastic crowd, it can really shift things. And when I was doing a little bit of research, I looked at where the word enthusiasm came from, and I thought it was so fitting because of what we were speaking about. So it was a French word that dates back to the 1600s that actually was in enthusiasm with an E on the end, and also came from the Greek word enthusiasticmus. I'm not pronouncing it right, but it meant divine inspiration and to be inspired or possessed by a god, be wrapped or to be in ecstasy. And I thought, you know what, that's exactly what we were talking about. So when you have inspiration or imagination, it is sometimes you can feel like you're possessed. And Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, she wrote another book that I love called Big Magic. And in there, she spoke about what she called hungry ghosts, and it's a Buddhist term, and it's a part of you, just in a nutshell, and I'm probably not doing it a good service, but basically it's a part of you that knows, it has sort of like a longing of something that you need to do or achieve, or that you sort of left undone, so it's like maybe you were disappointed by something, so rather than have the enthusiasm to try it again, you leave it by the wayside. But it bothers you, and it pecks at you, and it kind of prods you to revisit it. And if we don't go back to it, it will kind of haunt us through the rest of our lives. And so I think and to answer your question, in my life, I try not to leave things undone. Sometimes there's things, that I do have to revisit. And I think, well, now's not the right time, but I will revisit it. And then when I do so enthusiastically. So right now I'm working on putting a house back together. And when I am enthusiastic about a project, which really, it's so interesting, I decided I was going to change it from being a rental to an Airbnb. And just that one decision sparked a wave of enthusiasm. And everything from that point started to flow. I mean, you talk about synchronicities. I thought, well, now I've got to get a couch. Not literally 24 hours after I said, okay, I'm going to do this as an Airbnb, a friend who I haven't talked to in a while messaged me and said, I have some tables. If you're interested, I just redid my house. I'll send you some pictures. I said, oh, that would be great. So she sends me over these pictures, and the last picture she sent was of a couch. I said, how much is the couch? And she said, oh, it's free. My neighbor's getting rid of it. And I thought, wow, that's great. That's a wonderful synchronicity. And then I started, looking at the bathroom and doing different things, and decided I would tear down a wall, and discovered all kinds of hidden things. And I thought, okay. And then I started to lose my enthusiasm for the project. But once I started going out and picking up my tile and the other things, and guess what? Today it's almost done. It just has to be grouted, and it looks beautiful. It looks beautiful. And I think that's what enthusiasm does for you. It brings you unexpected gifts. And I'd love to,
I'll piggybacking onto that, you made me think about manifestation, how the connection between enthusiasm and manifesting your intentions, goals, dreams, desires in your life. And there is a deep, deep connection in that you've just literally communicated. And it is so true. You see it as serendipity. However, words have power, the power to manifest. And what you say goes out into the universe and starts growing. And you're literally attracting to you, based on your enthusiasm, which is energy. It's actually backing your intentions with energy, massive amounts of energy. And that energy is like like water and feed that helps a plant grow. Your enthusiasm, that is the connection there between those two. And that energy is absolutely necessary. Let's see if you have an intention to, I'll go back to golf because it's easy. However, if I have the intention to play a round of golf and then I don't back it with any enthusiasm, there won't be any creativity or focus during my round, and I'll play terribly. I played a round of golf on Thursday on a course that is incredibly challenging, incredibly difficult. And after not playing very well 3 days earlier, I came into this round saying to myself, you know what, this is one of my favorite courses. It's so beautiful. And I know I can play well. And I set the intention to approach the round with enthusiasm, with focus and attention. And I did shoot a very good score. And I noticed that thank you. There were 2 holes, though, that comprised the majority of the score that I actually had for myself. The 2 holes that were the detriment to my score, I should say. And I know exactly what happened during those times. My focus and my attention was somehow just what the word I'm looking for? Derailed. That's the word I'm looking for. My attention and focus were derailed for the moment because I'd found myself thinking about something that happened the previous time I played the course, or what I didn't want to do. And the one thing that so I'm human just like anybody else.
Right.
The beautiful
Absolutely.
thing about so you have to you get off the horse, you get back on. And the thing about golf that is also so amazing is you can go back and do a little forensic analysis of the hole you just played, and you can see flat out what started the dominoes going down. You can see it was all because of the first thing that you did. That started, they're thinking about the second thing and the third thing and the fourth thing, and before you know it, you might as well take out an abacus and add up your score, because you've just messed the entire thing up. And then you get back on track in the next hole, and you flush those thoughts, and which is incredibly important to do. We, as human beings, have a tendency to want to hold on to the negativity, hold on to the thing that didn't go well, hold on to the little failure or the mishap or misstep that we made. And it's important to develop the wherewithal and the awareness and the mindfulness to let things go, to be able to say, okay, I got to let this go. Don't tell 10 of your best friends. Don't put it on social media. Don't feed the negativity and make it bigger. It's just a thing that happened, and you can just get through it and get over it and stick with the positive. It's a challenge. However, it's a skill that you develop. And earlier, as you were talking, I was talking about enthusiasm requires resilience. on the opposite flip side, you may be resilient, and then something happens, and you have to be. The enthusiasm will come back when you exercise your own resilience, when you realize that it's just the thing that occurred. You shift your perception from negative to positive. You do that little alchemy that goes on there, and you are able to then let it go. Your enthusiasm will return when you shift your focus and attention back to something. I applied this to what your situation when it came to your house. That happens to me, by the way, all the time. When you decide to actually jump in and do something, I thought about this angel-like brand.
So, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You think about something for a long period of time, and the beautiful thing is about this is when you have a to-do list. Which I had Monday before I left to take a three-day trip. I had a to-do list of about 11 things I need to get done. I woke up like at 4 o'clock in the morning Sunday night, and I'm going, let me get this out of my head. I put it down on my notepad, and I went back to sleep. And I woke up in the morning, and I just started going through these things one after another. The point is that when we have to do something, and we adopt the perception of, I don't really want to do this. It's just not, this is just something I have to drudge through. You develop a negative perception of you're actually doing whatever it is. There will be no enthusiasm doing it, right? Mm-hmm. There will be none because you've stomped it out with your negative thoughts. However, if you decide to make it fun, to approach it from a way that allows you to get it done quickly without applying further negative thought, compounding the desire to not want to do it, you then develop a new enthusiasm for doing it, and you just cut through it like a hot knife through butter and move on. And we're our own worst enemy. Let's put it this way: right. We are our minds. We can totally take ourselves down very, very quickly. We can destroy our enthusiasm. We can decimate our enthusiasm if we let ourselves. And I do know some people that I talk to quite regularly that do that. I'm going, what is the matter with you? You've got great things happening in your life, and you're the one dampening your own enthusiasm. I'm not saying anything about it. You're the one doing it all on your own. And I'm like, wait a minute. Think about it. This is where, again, a couple of other tools, gratitude, forgiveness, perhaps. You're trying something for the second time, and it didn't go well the first time. Did you forgive yourself for the first mishap? Did you utilize that tool? And actually say, I forgive myself for doing this. I can do this better, or I can do this differently next time. After your little forensic analysis, I can hit this shot better in golf. I can play better than this. And I do. When I flush that out, I recommit and approach it from a different angle. It is definitely that what you're doing there is you are turning lead into gold. You're turning negative into positive. You're performing that personal alchemy right there, which is absolutely required to maintain enthusiasm. No way you can get around it because there's always going to be something, something that gets in the way.
Do you find, Michael, when you're on the? I was going to say, do you find when you're on the course that your enthusiasm inspires the people that you're playing with to play better as well?
Yeah, I've had people tell me that a lot. That my play and my calmness on the course in the face of some disaster that I've created for myself has inspired them to approach the game from a different perspective mentally, and I'm grateful for that. I thank them very much for that. And if I can help someone be better, play better, that's just all the better. It's amazing. However, this is how people get inspired and enthusiastic when they're watching professionals do things, when they're watching people who are really good at something do something, and you're like, hey, if I could just get 1 or 2% of the talent that they have or the mental game that they have, I will play better. And you develop this enthusiasm for actually wanting to take the next step and doing something to become better at whatever it is that you are doing. You don't have to be a pro at it. It's just adopting that enthusiasm, that energy level that allows you to move through things and see things from a different perspective, positive versus negative. And absolutely, I do.
Right.
You're it's you said something, seeing life events, seeing events as a blessing from the book that you had mentioned, which is also incredibly important. And that's, again, a perception that you adopt. And I keep coming back to this word perception because it pretty much underlines, it's the foundation of absolutely everything. I've said many times, if you're unenthusiastic, shift your perception about what it is that you have to do, actions you have to take, and your feelings will correspondingly change in kind because you'll be changing your mind. You want to change your life, you want to change anything about your outer world, change your own mind. Enthusiasm is one of those things that does, in fact, impact your outer world, those around you. And again, they'll see it, and they'll see it in a moment. They'll feel it, and to me, that's important. If we want to change the consciousness of the world, we have to develop much more enthusiasm, positive enthusiasm about what's going on in it, what's going on within us, and we can change the world as a result. So,
yeah, absolutely,
important thing there.
Wayne Dyer used to say that all the time, that his enthusiasm seemed to help his world just work. Everything, it was like the world would co-create with him. And I love that, where you co-create your experiences. And I do believe, if you get up and you're like, okay, well, these are my affirmations, and you say them without enthusiasm, without, really feeling them, you're creating that vibration, I don't think it's going to shift anything. Or whether or not we spoke briefly about, creating a vision board. And if you just cut pictures out and you put it in, you don't really put the thought into the feelings of what it would be like if your world looked like what is in your vision board.
Exactly.
It's just not going to unfold the way that you want it to be. You asked me before about my dogs, and I have a little dog. He's a toy fox terrier. He's been with me for many moons. He's my little soul boy. I was really, cherish him. And he jumped off a wall in August, I guess it was, and landed 4 feet off a wall onto concrete. Didn't break anything except he sustained a head injury. And what's so interesting about it, the next day he went out and he's like, hey, that was pretty fun. Let me try to climb over that wall again. Which didn't make his friend Lisa very happy. But, what was interesting, it affected his spine and his neurological. And I've some people would say he had a little trouble walking and just navigating, even to drink water out of the bowl. But I'm patient, and I love him, and I know that, I look into his eyes and I see that he still has an enthusiastic spark and wants to be here. So I take him every 2 weeks now for what's called veterinary orthopedic manipulation, and it's nothing short of a miracle. And the last week, my little dog, who had trouble standing and wobbling and almost falling over, walked all the way up to the very top of the hill. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. But today, it's a beautiful sunny day, so I let him out in the yard. Not only did he walk around to the top of the hill, which is no small feat, especially for a little dog that was injured, he walked around in that yard for an hour. And I thought, you know what? If he can do this, I can do anything. There's nothing, he's really he inspires me every day, every little step. I mean, and if it were his time and he didn't really want to be here, and I would know it, but he is determined. I took him to the park the other day, and we didn't go on the trails, and he kept wanting to walk toward the trails. And I thought, he's not ready for the trails. But guess what? Today he showed me he's ready for those trails. He wants to go back to where he was. And I think it's a good model. If you get something in your mind and that you want to do it and you're enthusiastic about it, and it doesn't matter if you're being criticized. There's lots of people who said, my own brother said, it's just his time, he's ready to go. I don't know. Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. Yeah, I'll know when it's that time. Yeah, but I thought about that. He really it's having, and then the word that came to mind, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is having a big heart. Really having heart. And I'm going to have to do some research of where that originated from, that saying, having heart, really putting your heart into something.
Heart and soul. Interesting. I see that as tied to feelings with regard to how you feel about something when you're really committed to doing something. You put your heart and soul into it, meaning that and I don't know where that saying came from either, so let me know what you find out. However, it's a form of commitment that combines enthusiasm with focus, attention, drive, and stick-to-itiveness. I guess that's another one that's there. Your heart and soul is, it's just you're committed. Your level of commitment, I guess, has a lot to do with it. Because I know people who do things that aren't necessarily committed. Then I know other people who are completely and totally committed to something and won't really let other voices in any way dictate what it is that they do. I mean, that is a level of commitment that is off the charts, and you find that with people who are really in touch with their goals and their dreams and intentions. They are really to the point, again, professionals, people who are professional athletes and others who are really good at something, and they have this, they seek to get better. I think about Kobe Bryant, who, and I think I might have said this before, but he always strove to be a better basketball player tomorrow than he was today. So he practiced longer hours. He practiced things that would help him be a better player tomorrow than he was today. And while other people in his profession literally just, they quit at 5. That was it. 8 to 5, that's all they did. He was out there shooting baskets until 8 or 9 o'clock at night, several days a week when he had time, making that commitment. And he played with a level of heart, I would say, that was admirable versus other players because he was more fully committed to being the best at what he did. Can you think about that? Are you really committed to being the best at what you do? Are you really committed to being the best? And you think about that, and even what you do now, every day of the week, are you committed to doing what you're doing right now? Are you committed to it to the point where your level of enthusiasm is high, that you have, that you go out of your way to be better, to make yourself better? Do you do that? Because it goes along with, if you could do anything in life, why aren't you doing it? Whatever you really want to be doing right now, why aren't you doing it?
That's a very good question. That's one of those big questions. It's one of those huge questions that you have to answer for yourself, and you must do it. Like, why aren't you doing it? I find that when let's talk about creative projects, because I've written like 6 books. And I haven't written another one because I don't have the enthusiasm for the exact topic of that book. I've been allowing myself since 2014 to let my message continue to evolve and percolate, and as you said last week, to evolve and grow, because that's what it's been doing. And if I'd chosen to write a book 2 years ago, it wouldn't have the same focus that it would have today, because my message has continued to evolve beyond just living, beyond the 3D world of drama and discord and negativity. It's moved beyond that to a message of creating your life. How do you do that?
How do you create your reality and in what you're experiencing? How can you actually do that? How can you, there's sovereignty involved, there's personal alchemy involved, and all of that. And the messages continue to evolve. So eventually I'll get to it. However, it takes a lot of enthusiasm to sit down every day, to commit yourself every day to sitting down for a couple of hours to write a book. I was enthusiastic as all get out when I wrote, Zero Adversity, because it was the first foray out of self-talk and other things into something that I had been actually using for a couple of decades. And that was kind of like the foundational book, and still is an amazing book about a skill that everybody needs to develop that can help them be more resilient and help them maintain a level of enthusiasm through whatever life throws at them. And and it will throw something at you. If not today, tomorrow. If not this morning, this afternoon. Something will happen. Where's your focus and attention? Are you going to leave your enthusiasm to piddle around mentally with something that you can't control, or are you going to let that go, not dedicate a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy, take energy away from the enthusiasm you have for what you're doing, and give it dedicate it to some negative event or thing or circumstance that's going on, usually in someone else's life. It's not necessarily always yours.
Absolutely.
And I mean, these are choices we have to actively make throughout the day. Unfortunately, we have to train ourselves to do it. Train ourselves to recognize when we're being derailed, our enthusiasm is being derailed. And this is really what I talk about more than anything else, is that how you handle events is more important than anything else, because it really is going to determine ultimately in any given moment how enthusiastic, how happy, how joyful you are about yourself and what you're doing in life and what you feel yourself capable of, the whole 9 yards. It just plays into that whole space of positivity and higher frequency living. As we have said, how do you live? The art of higher frequencies, of living from higher frequencies. It is an art, and it's also a little bit of a science. And a little bit of a psychological battle for some people. It's all those things. And but the enthusiasm, and this is really my belief. We were born enthusiastic, just like we were born happy and joyful. We were born resonating higher frequencies. You come out of the womb and you're like, wow, it's this, I'm in this space. I'm experiencing
look at all this cool
things.
Stuff.
Yeah, curious and inspired and like a sponge, it's absorbing everything, every movement, every feeling that is coming your way, and your own feelings. What is this? What is that? What's going on? Why am I feeling this way? And, look, when I do that, I feel this way. When this happens, I feel this way, or I feel that way when that happens. You learn all that sort of thing, and you pick it up from those who are around you. Your parents and family that you're exposed to, and the most important thing, in my view, that I feel we pick up is how we feel when things happen, when people look at us a certain way or they do something. That person when they do that, they feel really good. I want to do that so I can feel that way, and we learn about ourselves and how our interactions with the outer world. And enthusiasm is unfortunately, over time, what happens with a lot of people is that you're told at some particular point, hey, get with it. This is life. You can't be enthusiastic about everything. You can't do this. You can't. It's life. Things happen, and just suck it up. Really, what you want, instead of being taught, hey, you're the controller of your world. You're the one who decides how you feel, not something or somebody outside of you. Most important thing I was ever told was exactly that, and it shifted everything for me. Completely shifted. Say, wait a minute, I'm in control of this? Yeah, you're the one who's deciding how you feel when you see something, when something happens to you, when someone touches you. You're the one who decides how you feel. You feel it, sense it, you judge it good or bad, blah, blah, blah. The bottom line is, it's you. And we have a tendency as human beings, and the world plays into this whole illusion that the outer world controls how you feel. It's important for the powers that be out there in the world for you to know that, or for you to buy into that. And those people who don't buy into it, a la many, if not every, Buddhist monk that I've been told about, and I have a good friend who spent a lot of time with Buddhist monks in Cambodia, and they're literally saying the same thing. Your outer world is just an illusion that you deal with in a positive way. It's just something that happens. You don't have to respond to it. It's just something that goes on. The imbalance that you feel is from you. It's not from what happened. And you're like, wrap your mind around that one for 10 seconds and see where you are, because that's really it. And our power comes from how we interpret our world. Our higher frequencies are maintained. It's our decision to operate from happiness, joy, enthusiasm, love, and kindness and all that, empathy and compassion, or we can be operating from a perspective of fear or worry, discord, frustration, jealousy, envy, greed. We can be and operating from anger and hate. Yeah, we've got that choice. There's no enthusiasm, in my view, associated with those lower frequencies. Maybe there's a drive, and maybe you can start to feed off of them and find some level of enthusiasm for involving yourself in negativity. I'm sure that's the case. However, in the long run, how do you feel? And nobody can survive at those levels for a very long period of time. It's just detrimental to yourself and your soul and everything else, in my view. So the topic of enthusiasm is huge. It's very expansive. I'm glad we decided to look at it today.
I'm really happy that you brought up the fact that somebody can rob you of your enthusiasm very quickly. I have a good friend of mine who she retired and she wanted to still be of service, and she's been working on business and creating all of these things, from a web page to a card to really how she wanted to help young women conceive and have children. That's sort of the area that she wants to focus her intention. And she had a really positive meeting with a connection. It was just sort of a synchronistic meeting, and somebody said, "Oh my God, we would love to have somebody like you at our center," and whether she wanted to work there full time. And she called somebody that was very close to her and was enthusiastic and so excited to share how amazing this connection was. And his words to her were, I really don't have time for this. If you want to call and talk to me about life, then we'll have a conversation, but don't bother me with this stuff. I'm not interested in hearing it. And, she called me because she was so upset. And I said, look, I said, first of all, he just gave you a gift, a huge gift, because now you can see, you want the people that are closest to you to celebrate your successes. I said, you're so talented and you have so much to offer, and don't let anybody steal your dream. Don't ever let anybody take that away from you. And it's how we react to that criticism. Our ego is very fragile. We can be shamed, or somebody could get angry towards us, or, and it's, as you said, Michael, it's how we react, and you really have to trust. If you have an enthusiasm, you have a passion, and your heart's desire is like my dog to go up that hill and get back on the trail, you do that. And you do whatever it takes to fulfill that need that your soul is longing to achieve. And don't let anybody steal your dreams. I think with Charles Dickens wrote in David Copperfield, I think it was the very beginning, whether or not he would be the hero of his own life. And I'm not really sure what the quote is. I'm going to have to look it up. I'll post it on our Instagram. But I think, I think about that. It's your choice when you turn that page, are you going to be here or are you going to give it up? And it would have been easier for, she could have been really crushed and been like, okay, well, I won't talk to you about this anymore. But instead she picked up the phone and called me, and I said, hey, I'm so happy for you. I think that's phenomenal. And I think more divine synchronicities and more enthusiasm. And she has, since that conversation, which was weeks ago, so many more miraculous things that are just affirming that, yes, she is on the right path. And I know that she'll, really help the people that she's meant to help and impact lives and create something that she has a passion for, not just showing up, because she was kind of at that precipice. Should I go for a job? I can go and I work 40 hours a week. And I had this conversation with her last night. I said, is that what your soul is telling you to do? I don't think so. And she said, no, I just can't imagine doing that. And I said, well, there you have your answer. Right?
And amazing. You're so true. That's so true. Yeah, we are, again, that I can go to is that we can turn out to be our own worst enemy, or we can be our biggest hero. And I prefer to be the biggest hero. And there's a lot going on right now. I mean, in the world right now, there's a huge focus on inflation and other economic issues, how the cost of food, the cost of gasoline, the cost of all these things. And I was thinking about it on the way home from Biloxi today, and I had this thought about, we can talk ourselves or think ourselves into a hole, into a lack of enthusiasm for our life, or being grateful that we live. There's always a way to reallocate resources. I know people complain about the price of butter and eggs, and they'll go out for and have a $50 bar tab. So there's or gasoline or whatever the price may be. And gasoline has definitely come down. And that's not to minimize the fact that there are people who are living paycheck to paycheck and scrimping and saving and doing everything that they possibly can to move forward. I'm saying while you do that, you can also have a positive outlook on life, because if we're talking about manifestation and the connection between enthusiasm and manifestation, what I attempt to get across is that having enthusiasm for everything being okay, or that everything is moving in the right direction for you, and backing that with energy and enthusiasm will get you farther than, oh, woe is me. I'm sinking further and further into a hole. Things are never going to change for me if I get any further, and all of that. That mindset is going to manifest something completely different in terms of consequences, ramifications, and outcome. It's a function of what we attract into our lives and what we repel. And to anyone out there, any listener that knows somebody who's or is somebody themselves is experiencing this kind of thing, obviously we have to hunker down. There is the reality of this bill is due, energy bills are going up, and all this sort of thing. And we have to find ways to be enthusiastic about cutting our expenses. And we also have to, on the other hand, focus on, hey, maybe this is an opportunity for me to look in a different direction, to pursue something different for myself that will extricate me from this situation. Let's put some positive energy into what it is what my goals and dreams that I've abandoned, perhaps, intentions that I've abandoned because I've found myself, because I had an immediate need for cash. So I didn't do that. I didn't do the thing I really wanted to do in life, the thing that I was incredibly enthusiastic about. Maybe it's time to revisit that and look at how you can move forward towards that, develop some enthusiasm for that, because that same thing that happened with you when you decided to turn your place into an Airbnb, I don't know, do I, don't I, and you said, yeah, I do, and then the manifestation of that energy turning into a free couch and for other end tables or other things that you needed. That's there. That's what happens. You now meet people. You open this pathway for yourself, so that this pathway of manifestation, and it's important to always have that pathway open for ourselves. And you show me somebody who's knee-deep in a hole of mental distress, and I'll show you somebody who's not enthusiastic about what they're doing, and I'll show you someone whose inner conversation is backing what they don't want in their lives instead of what they do. Inner conversation is huge, and tied to enthusiasm is what we tell ourselves about ourselves and what we're capable of. And if your inner conversation, your self-talk is negative, if it's supporting what you don't want in your life, how hard things are, how difficult, how impossible it might be to do this, and how tough, it's going to be to move forward, if that's your conversation, then that's what you're going to manifest in your life. It's just literally something that's reinforcing what you do not want, what you want to avoid, the thing you don't want most of all. Instead, we have to say there's more than enough opportunity for me. I can move forward. There's nothing stopping me from moving forward in a way that benefits me, and I just have to forgive myself for how I got here and shift my thinking altogether. It's a process, and the tools, you already have the tools. And it's one of the reasons why I've been for years enthusiastic about what's now the Life Moves podcast, because that's the kind of stuff I love to talk about as well, is let's get down to the nuts and bolts. Okay, this screw, this nut goes on this screw, that screw goes into this thing, and holds that together. That's the kind of stuff, because there's motivation and inspiration everywhere. The problem is it doesn't stick because something else gets in the way. You can be happy as a lark, and then you walk outside and discover you've got a flat tire. Well, where'd all that enthusiasm go for life?
I agree.
Now you're focused.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you just now it morphed into negativity about your tire. And what you really want to simply do is change the tire and move on. Don't lose your enthusiasm. Just understand that these things happen at the most inappropriate of times. Yeah, when you're standing there in your best suit and clothes and tie, and you need to be somewhere in 45 minutes, and you've got a flat tire. The most inconvenient time for you. And my point to people is, maybe that flat tire saved you from something that you really didn't want in your life. Maybe it helped you avoid an accident. Maybe it helped you avoid this or that. There's a positive perspective for everything. Just take 10 minutes, by the way, to change a tire, which I did on a freeway in California, going to see a client. I had my best suit on. It was 90 degrees outside. I got a flat tire on the side of the freeway. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Changed it in 10 minutes. I was gone.
Wow.
That was it. I just said, no, let's not get mired in everything. And this was before cell phones, so nobody I couldn't tell them that I was late if I was going to be late. I just had to do it as quickly as possible and get it done, get back on the road, get that spare on there, put the other one in the trunk, go to the appointment, then after that, go to the tire store and get it fixed. And that's really the kind of thinking that I'm talking about, is that you have all the keys to being resilient. You just have to know what they are and how to actually use them to enhance your resilience and maintain the level of enthusiasm. Because that's, to me, what life's about. You, born happy, born enthusiastic, as I said, and now you're thrust into life. You're kicked out of the nest, and you have to deal with everything that comes with that. And you can choose to deal with it in a negative way, where you blame yourself if things don't go exactly as planned, you beat yourself up all the time, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or you can be positive and look at things from a different perspective, a perspective that is not negative to you or your life, and a way that helps manifest the good things that you want in your life. The people will be there. The serendipity will occur. You just have to also be looking for it. You have to be aware that the person standing next to you in line is not there by accident. That, hey, if you just simply said, hi, where'd you come from? You might actually find out in a conversation that they can help you. It's the strangest thing, but they can help you. If you're selling a product or service, that person in front of you or behind you in a coffee line or in a line at the store or whatever, check out, that person may be there for a reason. You will never know unless you open your mouth and say, hey, how are you? Wasn't it a great day today? Isn't the weather awesome? Yeah, it is. Where'd you come from? You live around, you've been around here for a while? Man, I can talk all day to people like that. And I can, in time it takes for the line to go, I can literally figure out, whether or not that person, how they're feeling. You can see, you look at the look on their face, by the way, and you can see what vibe you can sense the vibe that they're putting out. If they've got a smile, you smile at them, they smile back at you. Boom, we got a simpatico thing going here. We're on the same wavelength, and it's fun just to have a conversation. And sometimes I have those conversations, and I'm not interested in what their name is. It's not important. I'm not interested in befriending them for life. Perhaps I might impart to them. I live in a city that's a vacation place, a destination. So a lot of people come into town and they've never been here before, and you'd be amazed. I just got here. It's our first time. Great. You need to go to this place, and this place. You'll feel great about being there. You'll see the beach. You'll eat this food. It'll be fantastic. Oh, man, that's great. Thank you very much for that. Yeah. And then you move on. And you left somebody brighter than when you found them. And
100%.
That also builds your enthusiasm about life, about your life and the life that you're living.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how long we talked, but we got to be coming close.
We are. We're getting close to the end of our time together. It's like, I'm so glad we had this time together. Go back to the Carol Burnett show.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
To have a dance or sing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm probably not getting the words right, but, I think, Michael, there's so much, and I really, truly appreciate your enthusiasm for life and your ability to ask your soul, what it is that you want, and you move forward in that positive direction. And I hope that our listeners do hear our enthusiasm. And I just want to give a shout out to one of our listeners, Stephanie, who messaged me and asked me to please put together a list of some of the books and the other things that we talk about, and I will do that. I'm so grateful because there is a lot, and sometimes I don't think about it. We cover so much, and I really appreciate her enthusiasm for the show and her comments, and as I grateful for everybody that tunes in and listens to us each week here on Connect to Love. And if you want to join us on Instagram, Connect to Love Energy, for more information and content, we're growing that by leaps and bounds, and who knows what other great inspiring things that Michael and I are going to put together as well. You and I, it's like a little bubble machine. It's like, okay, is this bubble going to come out? Okay, these might be tiny, and this one's going to be big, and wow, look at where they're going to go. Where in the world are they going to go? Mm-hmm. And pop, but we just keep going.
Yeah.
So,
so true.
Thank you to everyone, and I'll let you leave some parting words on enthusiasm.
Well, let's put it this way. Our first and foremost, Connect to Love has the number 2 and not the letters T-O. Connect to Love energy on Instagram. Very, very important. It'll probably come up too when you search for it. However, I hope that everyone has taken something from this conversation that we've had today that can help them develop a higher level of enthusiasm for what they're doing right now. It starts with just taking this, being cognizant of enthusiasm, how enthusiastic you are when you get up in the morning, as you move through your day, and you make subtle changes in your life and your routine, perhaps, to continue to build that enthusiasm, a level of enthusiasm, and develop the inertia to change your mind about some things. When you're unenthusiastic about something, develop the ability to come at it from a different perspective, a perspective that allows you to become more enthusiastic about it. It's a choice you have. You can go from not liking something to liking something if you can just focus on the thing you actually like and not the other, the 10% of what you like instead of the 90% you don't. You can get enthusiastic about it. Okay? Possible.
Yep, absolutely.
And I appreciate it.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Enjoy a great week.